Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Jerome Tarantino is an American director, writer, and actor. His films are characterized by non-linear storylines, satirical subject matter, and aestheticization of violence. Extended scenes of dialogue, ensemble casts consisting of established and lesser-known performers. References to popular culture, soundtracks primarily containing songs and score pieces from the 1960s to the 1980s, and features of neo-noir film. He is widely considered one of the greatest filmmakers of his generation. His career began in the late 1980s, when he wrote and directed My Best Friend's Birthday, the screenplay of which formed the basis for True Romance. In the early 1990s, he began his career as an independent filmmaker with the release of Reservoir Dogs in 1992. Regarded as a classic and cult hit, it was called the greatest independent film of all time by Empire. Its popularity was boosted by his second film, Pulp Fiction, a black comedy crime film that was a major success both among critics and audiences. Judged the greatest film from 1983 to 2008 by Entertainment Weekly, many critics and scholars have named it one of the most significant works of modern cinema. For his next effort, Tarantino paid homage to the blaxploitation films of the 1970s, with Jackie Brown, an adaptation of the novel Rum Punch, Kill Bill, a highly stylized revenge flick, in the cinematic traditions of kung fu films, Japanese martial arts, spaghetti westerns and Italian horror, followed 6 years later, and was released as two films, Volume 1 in 2003 and Volume 2 in 2004. Tarantino directed Death Proof as part of a double feature with friend Robert Rodriguez, under the collective title Grindhouse. His long-postponed Inglourious Basterds, which tells the fictional alternate history story of two plots to assassinate Nazi Germany's political leadership, was released in 2009 to positive reviews. After that came 2012's critically acclaimed Django Unchained, a Western film set in the antebellum era of the Deep South. It became the highest-grossing film of his career so far, making over $425 million at the box office. His eighth film, the mystery western The Hateful Eight, was released in its roadshow version December 25, 2015, in 70mm film format, complete with opening, overture and halfway point intermission. After the fashion of big-budget films of the 1960s and early 1970s, Tarantino's films have garnered both critical and commercial success. He has received many industry awards, including 2 Academy Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, 2 BAFTA Awards and the Palme d'Or, and has been nominated for an Emmy and a Grammy. He was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time in 2005. Filmmaker and historian Peter Bogdanovich has called him the single most influential director of his generation. In December 2015, Tarantino received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his contributions to the film industry. Early life. Tarantino was born on March 27, 1963, in Knoxville, Tennessee, the son of Connie McHugh and Tony Tarantino. His father is of Italian descent, and his mother has English and Irish ancestry. Quentin was named after Quint Asper, Burt Reynolds' character in the CBS series Gunsmoke. Quentin's mother met his father during a trip to Los Angeles, when Tony was a law student and would-be entertainer. She married him soon after to gain independence from her parents, but the marriage did not last. Connie Tarantino left Los Angeles and moved to Knoxville, where her parents lived. In 1966, Tarantino's mother, after finishing her nursing studies, moved back to Los Angeles with her then 3-year-old son. They lived in the South Bay, in the southern part of the city. Tarantino grew up there. Tarantino's mother married musician Curtis Zastrupel soon after coming to Los Angeles, and the family moved to Torrance, a city in Los Angeles County's South Bay area. Zastrupel encouraged his love of movies, and accompanied him to numerous film screenings. Tarantino's mother allowed him to see movies with adult content, such as Carnal Knowledge and Deliverance. After his mother divorced Zastrupel in 1973 and received a misdiagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, Tarantino was sent to live with his grandparents in Tennessee. He remained there for about 6 months to a year before returning to California. His mother's next husband, to whom she was married for 8 years, also took Tarantino to films. At 14 years old, Tarantino wrote one of his earliest works, a screenplay called Captain Peach Fuzz and the Anchovy Bandit, where a thief steals pizzas from a pizzeria. It was based on Hal Needham's 1977 film Smokey and the Bandit, starring Burt Reynolds. The summer after his 15th birthday, Tarantino was grounded by his mother for shoplifting Elmore Leonard's novel The Switch from Kmart. He was only allowed to leave to attend the Torrance Community Theater, where he participated in such plays as 2+2 Makes Sex and Romeo and Juliet. At about 15 or 16, Tarantino dropped out of Narbonne High School in Harbor City, Los Angeles. He got a job ushering at a porn theater in Torrance, called the Pussycat Theater, after saying he was older than he truly was. Later, he put himself in acting classes at the James Best Theatre Company, where he met several people who would later appear in his films. While at the James Best, Tarantino also met Craig Hammond, with whom he collaborated to produce My Best Friend's Birthday, an eventually forsaken film project. In the 1980s, Tarantino worked in a number of places. He played one of a group of Elvis impersonators in Sophia's Wedding, Part 1, an episode in the 4th season of The Golden Girls, which was broadcast on November 19, 1988. Tarantino also worked as a recruiter in the aerospace industry, and for 5 years, he worked in Video Archives, a video store in Manhattan Beach, California. Former Buffy the Vampire Slayer actor Danny Strong described Tarantino as a fantastic video store clerk. Tarantino was such a movie buff. He had so much knowledge of films that he would try to get people to watch really cool movies. 1980s. After Tarantino met Lawrence Bender at a Hollywood party, Bender encouraged him to write a screenplay. Tarantino co-wrote and directed a movie called My Best Friend's Birthday in 1987. The final reel of the film was almost completely destroyed in a lab fire that occurred during editing, but its screenplay later formed the basis for True Romance. 1990s. Tarantino received his first paid writing assignment in the early 1990s, when Robert Kurtzman hired him to write the script for From Dusk Till Dawn. In January 1992, Tarantino's neo-noir crime thriller Reservoir Dogs, which he wrote, directed and acted in as Mr. Brown, was screened at the Sundance Film Festival. It was an immediate hit, with the film receiving a positive response from critics. The dialogue-driven heist movie set the tone for Tarantino's later films. Tarantino wrote the script for the film in 3.5 weeks, and Bender forwarded it to director Monte Hellman. Hellman helped Tarantino to secure funding from Richard Gladstein at Live Entertainment. Harvey Keitel read the script and also contributed to the funding, taking a role as co-producer, and also playing a major part in the movie. Tarantino's screenplay True Romance was optioned, and the film was eventually released in 1993. The second script that Tarantino sold was for the film Natural Born Killers, which was revised by Dave Veloz, Richard Rutofsky, and director Oliver Stone. Tarantino was given story credit, and in an interview stated that he wished the film well. The film engendered enmity, and the publication of a tell-all book titled Killer Instinct by Jane Hampshire, who, with Don Murphy, had an original option on the screenplay and produced the film, led to Tarantino physically assaulting Murphy in the Ego restaurant in West Hollywood, California in October 1997. Murphy subsequently filed a $5 million lawsuit against Tarantino, which was eventually settled out of court. Tarantino was also an uncredited screenwriter on both Crimson Tide and The Rock. Following the success of Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino was approached by Hollywood and offered numerous projects, including Speed and Men in Black, but he instead retreated to Amsterdam to work on his script for Pulp Fiction. Tarantino wrote, directed, and acted in the black comedy crime film Pulp Fiction in 1994, maintaining the aestheticization of violence, for which he is known, as well as his non-linear storylines. Tarantino received an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, which he shared with Roger Avary, who contributed to the story. He also received a nomination in the Best Director category. The film received another 5 nominations, including for Best Picture. Tarantino also won the Palme d'Or for the film at the Cannes Film Festival. The film has grossed over $200 million and was met with critical acclaim. After Pulp Fiction was completed, Tarantino directed the 4th segment of the anthology film 4 Rooms, The Man from Hollywood, a tribute to the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode, Man from the South, which starred Steve McQueen in an adaptation of a Roald Dahl story. 4 Rooms was a collaborative effort with filmmakers Ellison Anders, Alexandra Rockwell, and Robert Rodriguez. The film was very poorly received by critics. Additionally, he starred in the action comedy Destiny Turns on the Radio as the titular character, and played the pickup guy in Robert Rodriguez's action film Desperado in 1995. Tarantino appeared in and wrote the script for Rodriguez From Dusk Till Dawn, which saw average reviews from the critics. It nevertheless quickly reached cult status, spawning a continuing saga of 2 sequels, for which Tarantino and Rodriguez only served as executive producers, and a 2014 television series, From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, which he received a based on credit for. Also in 1996, he starred in Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair, a simulation video game that uses pre-generated film clips. Tarantino's 3rd feature film was Jackie Brown, an adaptation of Elmore Leonard's novel Rum Punch, a homage to blaxploitation films. It starred Pam Grier, who starred in many of the films of that genre in the 1970s. It received positive reviews and was called a comeback for Grier and co-star Robert Forster. Leonard considered Jackie Brown to be his favorite of the 26 different screen adaptations of his novels and short stories. 2000s. Tarantino had next planned to make Inglourious Basterds, as it was provisionally titled, but postponed this to write and direct Kill Bill, a highly stylized revenge flick, in the cinematic traditions of wuxia, jidaigeki, spaghetti westerns and Italian horror. It was originally set for a single theatrical release, but its 4-hour-plus running time prompted Tarantino to divide it into two movies. Volume 1 was released in late 2003 and Volume 2 was released in 2004. It was based on a character called the Bride and a plot that he and Kill Bill's lead actress Uma Thurman had developed during the making of Pulp Fiction. From 2002 to 2004, Tarantino portrayed villain McKenna's Cole in the ABC television series Alias. In 2004, Tarantino attended the Cannes Film Festival, where he served as president of the jury. Although Kill Bill was not in competition, Volume 2 had an evening screening, and was also shown on the morning of the final day in its original 3-hour-plus version, with Tarantino himself attending the full screening. Tarantino went on to be credited as special guest director in Robert Rodriguez's 2005 neo-noir film Sin City, for his work directing the car sequence featuring Clive Owen and Benicio del Toro. In May 2005, Tarantino co-wrote and directed Grave Danger, the fifth season finale of CSI: Crime Scene Investigation. For this episode, Tarantino was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Directing for a drama series on the 57th Primetime Emmy Awards. Tarantino's next film project was Grindhouse, which he co-directed with Rodriguez. Released in theaters on April 6, 2007, Tarantino's contribution to the Grindhouse project was titled Death Proof. It began as a take on 1970s slasher films, but evolved dramatically as the project unfolded. Ticket sales were low despite mostly positive reviews. The same year, he appeared in the Japanese Western film Sukiyaki Western Django as Pyringo, and had a vocal cameo as a newsreader in George A. Romero's Diary of the Dead. Among Tarantino's producing credits are the horror film Hostel, which included numerous references to his own Pulp Fiction, the adaptation of Elmore Leonard's Kill Shot, for which Tarantino was credited as an executive producer, although he was no longer associated with the film after its 2009 release, and Hellride, written and directed by Larry Bishop and Johnny Lane, who both appeared in Kill Bill, Volume 2. Tarantino's film Inglourious Basterds, released in 2009, is the story of a group of Jewish American guerrilla soldiers in Nazi-occupied France during World War II. Filming began in October 2008. The film opened on August 21, 2009, to very positive reviews and reached the #1 spot at the box office worldwide. It went on to become Tarantino's highest-grossing film until it was surpassed by Django Unchained 3 years later. 2010s. In 2011, production began on Django Unchained, a film about the revenge of a slave in the U.S. South in 1858. The film stemmed from Tarantino's desire to produce a spaghetti western set in America's Deep South. Tarantino called the proposed style a Southern, stating that he wanted to do movies that deal with America's horrible past with slavery and stuff, but do them like spaghetti westerns, not like big-issue movies. I want to do them like they're genre films, but they deal with everything that America has never dealt with, because it's ashamed of it, and other countries don't really deal with because they don't feel they have the right to. The film was released on December 25, 2012. During an interview with Krishnan Guru Murthy about the film on Channel 4 News, Tarantino reacted angrily when, in light of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, he was questioned about an alleged link between movie violence and real-life violence, and informed Guru Murthy he was shutting his butt down. Tarantino further infuriated the veteran journalist with his furious rant, saying, "I refuse your question. I'm not your slave and you're not my master. You can't make me dance to your tune. I'm not a monkey." In November 2013, Tarantino said he was working on a new film and that it would be another Western. He stated that it would not be a sequel to Django. On January 12, 2014, it was revealed that the film would be titled The Hateful Eight. Production of the Western would most likely have begun in the summer of 2014, but after the script for the film leaked in January 2014, Tarantino considered dropping the movie and publishing it as a novel instead. He stated that he had given the script to a few trusted colleagues, including Bruce Stern, Tim Roth and Michael Madsen. On April 19, 2014, Tarantino directed a live reading of the leaked script at the United Artists Theater in the Ace Hotel, Los Angeles. The event was organized by the Film Independent at LACMA as part of the Live Read series. Tarantino explained that they would read the first draft of the script, and added that he was writing 2 new drafts with a different ending. The actors who joined Tarantino included Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Amber Tamblyn, James Parks, Walton Goggins, and the first 3 actors to be given the script before the leakage: Bruce Stern, Tim Roth and Michael Madsen. In October 2014, Jennifer Jason Leigh was in talks to play the female lead in the film. On November 7, 2014, it was announced that Leigh, Channing Tatum, and Damian Bichir would join the cast. The film was released on December 25, 2015, as a roadshow presentation in 70mm film format theaters, before being released in digital theaters on December 30, 2015. Tarantino narrated several scenes in the film. He edited 2 versions of the film, one for the roadshow version and the other for general release. The roadshow version runs for 3 hours and 2 minutes, and includes an overture and intermission, while the general release is 6 minutes shorter and contains alternate takes of some scenes. Tarantino has stated that the general release cut was created as he felt that some of the footage he shot for 70mm would not play well on smaller screens. The film has received mostly positive reviews from critics, with a score of 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. As producer, in recent years, Tarantino has used his Hollywood power to give smaller and foreign films more attention than they might have received otherwise. These films are usually labeled "presented by Quentin Tarantino" or "Quentin Tarantino Presents." The first of these productions was in 2001 with the Hong Kong martial arts film Iron Monkey, which made over $14 million in the United States, 7 times its budget. In 2004, he brought the Chinese martial arts film Hero to U.S. shores. It ended up having a number 1 opening at the box office and making $53.5 million. In 2006, another Quentin Tarantino Presents production, Hostel, opened at number 1 at the box office, with a $20.1 million opening weekend, good for 8th all-time in January. He presented 2006's The Protector, and is a producer of the 2007 film Hostel, Part 2. In 2008, he produced the Larry Bishop-helmed Hellride, a revenge biker film. In addition, in 1995 Tarantino formed Rolling Thunder Pictures with Miramax to release or re-release several independent and foreign features. By 1997, Miramax had shut down the company due to lack of interest in the pictures released. The following films were released by Rolling Thunder Pictures: Chungking Express, Switchblade Sisters, Sonatine, Hardcore Logo, The Mighty Peking Man, Detroit 9000, The Beyond and Curdled, an unnamed Western project. for which he is a producer, caused controversy in early June 2016 by posting a Facebook casting call for Jaws Caucasian, sizes 2-8. This post has since been taken down, but has captured press attention globally. Other potential films. Before *Inglourious Basterds*, Tarantino had considered making The Vega Brothers. The film would have starred Michael Madsen and John Travolta reprising their roles of Vic from Reservoir Dogs and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. In 2007, because of the age of the actors and the on-screen deaths of both characters, he claimed that the film, which he intended to call Double V Vega, is kind of unlikely now. In 2009, in an interview for Italian TV, after being asked about the success of the two Kill Bill films, Tarantino said, "You haven't asked me about the third one," and implied that he would be making a third Kill Bill film with the words, "The Bride Will Fight Again," later that year, at the Morelia International Film Festival. Tarantino announced that he would like to film Kill Bill, Volume 3. He explained that he wanted 10 years to pass between the bride's last conflict, in order to give her and her daughter a period of peace. In a 2012 interview for the website We Got This Covered, Tarantino said that a third Kill Bill film would probably not happen. He also said that he would not be directing a new James Bond film, saying that he was only interested in directing Casino Royale at one point. In a late 2012 interview with the online magazine The Root, Tarantino clarified his remarks and described his next film as being the final entry in a Django Inglourious Basterds trilogy called Killer Crow. The film will depict a group of World War II-era black troops who have been fucked over by the American military and kind of go apeshit. They basically, the way LT Aldo Rain and the Bastards are having an Apache resistance. The black troops go on an Apache warpath and kill a bunch of white soldiers and white officers on a military base, and are just making a warpath to Switzerland. A long-running rumor in the industry is that Tarantino is interested in filming a new version of Bret Easton Ellis' 1985 novel, Less Than Zero. His friend Roger Avary adapted Rules of Attraction, another novel by Ellis, to film in 2002, and since both he and Tarantino like the works by Ellis, Tarantino has been eyeing the possibility of adapting Less Than Zero. Ellis recently confirmed, in an interview for Vice magazine, that Tarantino had been trying to get Fox to let him remake it. At a Q&A session at Harvard Bookstore in 2012, in reply to a question asking whether Less Than Zero would be remade, Ellis once again confirmed that Tarantino has shown interest in adapting the story. At the 2014 Comic-Con, Tarantino revealed he is contemplating a possible science fiction film. In November 2014, Tarantino said he would retire from films after directing his 10th film. Plans for retirement. At the Adobe Max event at the San Diego Convention Center on November 3, 2016, Tarantino confirmed rumors that he intended to retire after completing 10 feature films. Drop the mic. Boom. Tell everybody. Match the shit. He stated that he was working on 2 projects, a Bonnie and Clyde-esque drama set in 1930s Australia, and a historical non-fiction project centered around the year 1970, which he considered the most pivotal in the history of cinema. Influences and style of filmmaking. An awards ceremony in the Critics' Choice Awards celebrated Tarantino, citing his start in filmmaking when he was in his 20s. Music is an important part of Tarantino's filmmaking style, and he said that he would listen to music in his bedroom and create scenes which correlated to the music that was being played. In the 2012 Sight and Sound Directors poll, Tarantino listed his top 12 films: Apocalypse Now, The Bad News Bears, Carrie, Dazed and Confused, The Great Escape, His Girl Friday, Jaws, Pretty Maids All in a Row, Rolling Thunder, Sorcerer, Taxi Driver and The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, with the last being his favorite. In 2009, he named Kunji-Fukusaku's violent action film Battle Royale as his favorite film released since he became a director in 1992. He is also a fan of the 1981 film Blowout, directed by Brian De Palma, so much so that he used the main star of the film, John Travolta, in Pulp Fiction. Tarantino praised Mel Gibson's 2006 film Apocalypto, saying, "I think it's a masterpiece. It was perhaps the best film of that year." In August 2007, while teaching in a 4-hour film course during the 9th Cinema Manila International Film Festival in Manila, Tarantino cited Filipino directors Sergio Santiago, Eddie Romero, and Gerardo de Leon as personal icons from the 1970s. He referred to de Leon's soul-shattering, life-extinguishing movies on vampires and female bondage, citing in particular Women in Cages. "It is just harsh, harsh, harsh," he said, and described the final shot as one of devastating despair. Upon his arrival in the Philippines, Tarantino was quoted in the local newspaper as saying, "I'm a big fan of RP, Republic of the Philippines, cinema." Tarantino often uses graphic violence that has proven seductive to audiences, and he has been harshly criticized for his use of gore and blood in an entrancing yet simultaneously repulsive way. His films have been staunchly criticized and scorned for their use of violence, blood, and action as a color within cinema, and rebuked for allegedly using human suffering as a punchline. Actor Steve Buscemi has described Tarantino's novel style of filmmaking as bursting with energy and focused, a style that has earned him many accolades worldwide. According to Tarantino, a hallmark of all his movies is that there is a different sense of humor in each one, which gets the audience to laugh at things that are not funny. However, he insists that his films are dramas, not comedies. Tarantino has stated that the celebrated animation action sequence in Kill Bill was inspired by the use of 2D animated sequences in actor Kamal Hussan's Tamil film Malavandan. He often seeks to harness, manipulate and ultimately imitate the aesthetic elements and conventions typically used in the cartoon medium. More specifically, he often attempts to meld comic strip formulas and aesthetics within a live-action film sequence, in some cases by the literal use of cartoon or anime images. Tarantino's cinematic ambition to marry artistic expression via live-action and cartoonism is yet another example of his ability to morph genres and conventions to produce a new and authentic style of his own. Tarantino often manipulates the use of commodities in order to propel plot development or to present an intriguing juxtaposition that ultimately enhances his notorious combination of humor and violence, equating a branded genre with branded consumption. He often pairs bizarre props with an equally bizarre scene, in which the prop itself develops into something of higher substance. Likewise, he often favors particular brand names of his own creation to make promotional appearances. The typical brands he uses within his films are Acuna Boys Tex-Mex Food, Big Kahuna Burger, Geoduce, Jack Rabbit Slims, K-Billy, Red Apple Cigarettes, Tenku Brand Beer, and teriyaki donut. On the biopic genre, Tarantino has said that he has no respect for biopics, saying that they are just big excuses for actors to win Oscars. Even the most interesting person, if you're telling the life from beginning to end, it's going to be a fucking boring movie. However, in an interview with Charlie Rose, he said, "There is one story that I could be interested in, but it would probably be one of the last movies I ever make. My favorite hero in American history is John Brown. He's my favorite American who ever lived. He basically single-handedly started the road to end slavery and he killed people to do it. He decided, if we start spilling white blood, then they're going to start getting the idea." Tarantino has stated in many interviews that his writing process is like writing a novel before formatting it into a script, saying that this creates the blueprint of the film and makes the film feel like literature. About his writing process, he told website The Talks, "My head is a sponge. I listen to what everyone says, I watch little idiosyncratic behavior, people tell me a joke, and I remember it. People tell me an interesting story in the life and I remember it. When I go and write my new characters, my pen is like an antenna, it gets that information. And all of a sudden these characters come out more or less fully formed. I don't write their dialogue, I get them talking to each other." In 2013, a survey of 17 academics was carried out to discover which filmmakers had been referenced the most in essays and dissertations on film that had been marked in the previous 5 years. It revealed that Tarantino was the most studied director in the UK, ahead of Christopher Nolan, Alfred Hitchcock, Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.